Hi there. I bought a lot of books. So, we're not going to be filming the whole video in this, very uncomfortable position, but I just want to show you the sheer enormity of the amount of books I have. I went nuts this year. I have bought more books than I had on my physical TBR at the beginning of the year. And it just is insane. Like, seriously, look at all of these books. There's over 100 books here to haul. So I'm gonna get into a more comfortable position so y'all can actually see me and not be hiding behind these books. And we'll get to chatting about all the books that I hauled this year. So, like I said, I have over 100 books to haul for you all today, which is truly ridiculous. But I'm going to start kind of towards the beginning of the year. I just never filmed a book haul this year. I don't know why. I guess I just never did. So we're going to backtrack all the way back to January. And I believe some of these books are also Christmas presents. So we're kind of backtracking into December as well. But I will have editing me, apologies to future me for doing this to you, but I'm going to have editing me put in the month of roughly when these books are being hauled. I do have a tracker on my Notion reading tracker page where I track all the books that I've hauled, so I'm going to use that for reference and just kind of go from January all the way till now when I'm filming this video, which is about mid-August. So I obviously still have more books coming because I'm addicted. So I will make another end of year book haul. Hopefully, I'm going to start planning more videos and have more of not really a schedule because I'm just going to post as I feel like it, but definitely film more sit-down videos and just be a little more structured. But without further ado, I also want to mention I am using a new mic for my sit-down videos, which I'm really excited about. I think the sound quality is incredible compared to my camera. I didn't realize how loud my camera is and how much my camera records itself filming. Like, it's so noisy. So I'm kind of trying to do some adjustments without having to buy a whole new camera. So I bought this mic. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with my camera, but I'm using my phone to record the audio because the mic works with my phone. So it's kind of a funny setup, but it's working. I think the audio sounds incredible once I do some tweaking in my new editing software, and it just sounds awesome. So anyways, without further ado, again, let's get into the book haul. I'm really thirsty now and my water is like all the way over there, but I'm surrounded by books and can't move, so I guess we're just gonna suffer. So starting with the stack closest to me, this is definitely from earlier in the year, if not December. So the first book is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This is a standalone thriller, YA thriller that Holly Jackson has released, and I enjoyed it. I did read it. It was pretty good, and I love her covers. Next, the next few I believe are gifts that I received. So the first one is Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander. This is a romance. I believe it's LGBTQ+, which I'm really excited about, and it looks like a great time. I love baking romances. They're the best. Next is Dreamland Burning by Jennifer Latham. I don't know much about this. I kind of have a feeling this is a TV show. Like, I could have sworn I've seen this as a show somewhere, but it sounds interesting. It looks like there's like 2 different timelines, and there's a Tulsa race riot, and I like the idea of 2 different timelines. It sounds interesting, so looking forward to reading it. Next up is Kingdom of the Wicked, which I really enjoyed. This is definitely a gift from Cameron. I loved this book a lot. It was really fun and felt more new adult than I was expecting, but it was such a good time. Really enjoyed it, and it was great. It's just a fun time. Next is A Winter's Promise. I'm picking these books up in the weirdest way possible. Like, what is this? By Christelle Dabos. I've heard really terrible things about the later books in the series, so I'm nervous that this is going to lead to that. Like, the first one's gonna be great, and then it's just gonna go downhill. So, not sure what to expect with this, but I know it has something to do with mirror magic, which is what really intrigued me, because I think mirrors are just so interesting. Like, that's such a weird thing to say, but mirrors are just like fascinating. So the idea of using mirrors as like a magic system sounds fascinating to me. So I'm intrigued. I want to read it. Next up is the Wings of Fire graphic novel. This is the latest one, book 6. I am obsessed with Wings of Fire series. This is just a great time. Like, it's just a cozy, fun time, and I'm obsessed with the graphic novels as I am with the books. So this is a great time, and I read it and it was wonderful. Next up we have 9 Liars, which is the latest book in the, oh my gosh, what's it called? Truly Devious series. I love Truly Devious. Like, I vividly remember reading the 3rd book in the series and actually was late for class because I wanted to read that book over going to class. Like, I just vividly remember that and like having to race to campus to go to class. What great times. So this was really enjoyable. I have read this one. I've read, I don't even want to say half. I'd say maybe a quarter of these. So like, I'm not just buying them and they're sitting on the shelf, although that does happen like just about every time. But I am reading them. So at least there's that. At least I'm not just buying books to have them sit, which is fine too. I mean, they're art. Next up, we have book 8 in this Trash Fire series of Zodiac Academy. I need to continue with this series. I believe I'm on book 5 and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do own the whole series now. I don't know if there's going to be more books. I feel like there's going to be a book 9, maybe book 10. I don't know. We'll see. This is a trashy romantasy. What are the girlies calling it? I think it's romantasy. I like fantasy romance better, like just saying the 2 words. I don't know why we need acronyms, but anywho, it's so bad, but it's so enjoyable. Next up is a gift from one of my friends from college, which is The Mist of Avalon. I love the cover of this book. Like, this is the epitome of like original fantasy covers. Like, it's so pretty. So I don't know too much about it. I believe it's a retelling of some sort. Yes, it's a reimagining of the Arthurian legends. And I believe it's focusing mainly on the women within Arthurian legend, because the friend who gifted this to me is someone who I feel like has great book recommendations for me. Like, they've recommended me books before and I've loved them. So for them to gift me this, I'm real excited to read it. And it's the floppiest paperback ever, which is just amazing. So I really want to read this. I'd love to just take a deep dive into this and annotate the heck out of it and just have an immersive time. It sounds great. Next up, we have the, oh golly, let's just drop them everywhere. Next up, we have the first 3 books in the Catch-Up Book Club selection for the rest of this year and into next year, and that is Joe Abercrombie. So this is his first series, the first Law trilogy. We have The Blade Itself, Before They Are Hanged, and The Last Argument of Kings. So I have read this series now. I actually DNF'd book 3 because it was so bad. But book 1 is great, book 2 is terrible, book 3 couldn't hardly stand it. So I don't know what that means for me in terms of catching up with Catch-Up Book Club and like reading the rest of the books for book club, but they're not great. Like, the first one is so good and it's just gone downhill from there. So I'm really hoping the next series we read is better. Next up, we have Master of Poisons by Andrea Hairston. I bought this at Barnes & Noble, obviously, because it was in the buy one 50% off section, which gets me just about every time. So this is an epic fantasy, and I just love fantasy when there's like poisons involved. I just love it, like Poison Masters or anything of the sort of like where someone is like administering poisons to their enemies, or like they mixing stuff to make poisons. Like, that kind of magic and stuff is just my favorite. So looking forward to reading this one. It's a chunker and I'm excited. Next up, we have the latest book in the Wayward Children series, Lost in the Moment and Found. I'm obsessed with this series. It's a great time. Read it. That's all I gotta say. Next up is the sequel to Ninth House, which is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Love this. This is so good. Love this cover. It's so unsettling. Like, that rabbit just looks uncomfortable. I feel like we need to like go through the books a little bit faster. Like, I'll say a little bit about it. I'm not gonna give any really deep descriptions about these books because I don't love knowing a whole ton about the books. Like, if it's by an author I love, I'm just gonna buy it. But if it's a new to me author, I just kind of want to hear about it from someone on BookTube, or just hear like buzzwords and go from there instead of reading the whole synopsis. So we're just gonna kind of you know, snap through these. So, I think we'll go with this stack that's like falling back here. And we're actually gonna haul, a big chunk of a series real quick. So I have bought the rest of the Leviathan Wake series. So this is books 3 through 9. I am up to book 5, I believe, is the next one I need to read. I'm really enjoying this series way more than I was expecting. Like, it's so dramatic and just a fun time. Like, I'm really enjoying it. The audiobooks are really good, and I'm trying to make my way through this series so I can then watch the show, and then I have a video planned for that where I want to talk about where you can start the show in relation to the books, because I've been trying to find the answer to that question and nobody has an answer online, so I guess I just need to answer it myself. So, real excited about these. I'm gonna put these down now. These are real heavy. Next is Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is her like vampire-y story. I'm slowly trying to collect all her books because I don't own all of them. I believe I do now, besides one, which is Untamed Shore. I cannot find unless I want to spend $65 for it on Amazon, which is stupid, not happening. But this was good. I did read it. Next up, we have an Illumicrate book. I have no clue for what month, and that is God Killer by Hannah Kennar. I'm very excited to read this one. I keep trying to pick it up, and I just keep reading other things, but I believe it's inspired by some sort of mythology, and it just sounds amazing. It has to do with like gods, and they're like coming back, and I just love it. This cover is my favorite. And the edges, like, don't even get me started on the edges. Look at them. My camera's not cooperating. Look at those edges. They're so pretty. Another Sylvia Moreno Garcia book is Signal to Noise. Like I said, collecting her books, so I think I just have one more. Next up is Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, which is the sequel to The Daughter and the Moon Goddess. I love Daughter and the Moon Goddess. It was so good. I'm seeing more and more like negative reviews of people saying they don't enjoy it. I love this duology. I think this one's definitely more heavily focused on the romance, which is totally fine. I really enjoyed this series though. I think it's a great time, and it was just fun. I hate the cover of this book. I really kind of wish I didn't buy this copy because it's so ugly. And that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I really want the original editions of the series where like the title goes like vertically down the cover because I think those look so pretty. They're simplistic, but they're gorgeous. And this is ugly. I do not like this copy, but I bought it for the story within, not the cover. So good job, me. Next up is one of my absolute favorite books of the year, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I'm obsessed with this book. I cried reading this book. It's so good. Cozy fantasy, LGBTQ+. It's just, it has everything. I want to live in this world. Like, of all the fantasy books I've read in my life, this is the one I want to live in. Like, it's home. Next up is Sea of Souls Book 3 by R.E. Palmer, which was sent to me by the author. I am a beta reader for this series, which is exciting. And I have my own character in this book, which is really exciting. So I really enjoyed this, and I really want to reread this one because the author did a lot of edits to this book from our recommendations, like his beta readers, because there was some things I didn't love about the edition of book 3 that I got. Like, there was just some parts of it that just weren't like super great. Like, there were a super long battle scene that was just, it felt way too long. So I believe that's been shortened up, and there's been some other tweaks and stuff before this was printed. So I would like to actually like reread the whole series and just before the next book comes out and just be ready for that. But really happy to have this copy. I love these covers. They're like kind of matte and like soft. I love like indie published books. Like, they're so soft. I am ashamed that I have not read this next book. Like, it is terrible that I have not read A Day of Fallen Night, because Prior of the Orange Tree is my favorite book of all time. Like, I think about that book almost every day. I honestly want to get a tattoo of that book, but I can't make up my mind of what I want. Like, I would want the dragon maybe like wrapped around my ankle or something. Like, I need it somewhere that I could easily hide it for work and stuff. And I don't know. I want to get a tattoo of some sort from this book, but at the same time, I'm kind of terrified of tattoos because they're so permanent and you have to have a needle in your flesh, and that just grosses me out. But regardless, I should have read this book by now. But I think I'm just a tad hesitant from seeing how many people who also love Priory hate this book and are DNFing it and are not reading it. And I'm like, why? What's happened? What's going on? So I seriously need to read this book, and maybe I'll try to do some sort of video where I read this book specifically and maybe do a vlog for it, spoiler free or something. I don't know, but I need to read this. Like, it's calling to me. It's calling. All right, we're scooching another stack over. I kind of mixed these up, so now I don't know if this is the right sequence of books for this book haul, but it doesn't really matter. So the next book is Book of the Most Precious Substance by Sarah Gran. I read this on Lala's recommendation. It was so weird. It was so good. I love this book. I really would like to reread it now that I know how it ends. And it was just a weird time. I really enjoyed it though. It was so good. I love how I said I'm going to stop talking about the book so much, and I keep doing that. Okay, come on. We seriously got to snap through these books a little faster. Okay, next up is book 4 in the Last Magician series, which is The Shattered City. I read book 1 years ago, and that's it. But I just decided I might as well collect the series because I really enjoyed book 1, but I need to just start from the beginning and just completely start over. The next book was sent to me by Penguin Teen, so thank you so much to them, and that is Another Dimension of Us by Mike Albo. I believe this is LGBTQ plus sci-fi, like YA sci-fi. Ooh, it looks like the pages have like, I don't know, like a dark tinge up there. Like, that's not a smudge, like that's part of the pages. Like, that's cool. So it looks like the headers have like cool things on them. I love that. So it looks like we have 2 different timelines, which I always love, and it sounds interesting. I definitely want to get to it. Next up is Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall. Again, another author. I'm trying to collect their works because I have loved their books, and they're also different. Like, this one, I believe, is a whatever that type of romance is that I can't think. Regency. There we go. Regency romance, I believe. Kind of. I have no clue. It's LGBTQ plus. I'm here for it. I'm gonna read it. Next up is a stunning Illuminate copy of The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. I love this copy. It's so pretty. I believe this is YA, which, as y'all know, I'm trying to get away from, but I will read the ones that I have. But there's a little blurb at the top that says, "Will draw you in and leave you begging for more" by Leigh Bardugo, which I do trust her. So I hope this is good. I believe it's set in a small town. I love that. Next up is a book that I bought and read for college in my last semester, but it was just amazing, and y'all should read it. And that's The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. This book was just wild and really created some really great discussions. Like, I think this would be a perfect book club book. It was just really good. Next up is Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun by El Cosmano, which everyone seems to be hating. I love this series. Yeah, it's weird and kind of trashy, but it's fun. Next up is There by Tommy Orange. I read this in like my first year of college, but just wanted to have a copy. I saw it at the used bookstore and it was like in perfect condition. So I bought it just to have it, and I do want to reread it at some point because it was really good. Next up is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I've been wanting to buy this book for years. I saw it at the used bookstore. I bought it, and I'm real hyped to read it. I know it has something to do with like a book within a book, and I love that. So next up is The Last Wish by that guy. Well, I'm not even gonna attempt to say that name. So this is the first book in the Witcher series. I didn't think I'd be interested in this, but I kind of want to try it because I kind of want to watch the TV show on Netflix, but I have no interest in playing the games or anything. I just kind of want to read the book and maybe watch the show. So that's the plan. Next is The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk. I've been seeing some pretty mixed reviews about this, but it is historical fantasy, which if I'm going to read historical, it better have fantasy in it. So I'm reading it. Also at my used bookstore, they had The Whisper Man and The Shadows, which these two are companions of one another, I believe. I loved The Whisper Man. Like, it was so creepy and good. And I did read The Shadows for Summerween, and it was like good, but I wouldn't say like it was amazing. But I bought them because, you know, why not? Next we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I loved this. So good. Another one of my favorite books of the year. So great. And I can't wait to read the rest of the series. Next up is Something to Talk About by Meryl Wilsner. I read one of her other books for book club and was obsessed with it. Like, I was the only one in book club who liked that book. So I want to try out her other books. I'm really excited about this one. It looks great. Now we have Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. Hold on, my foot's falling asleep. And I gotta say, this book was really disappointing compared to how long we had to wait for this book. I just feel like it did not do what I wanted, which obviously I can't control what Cassie Clare is going to do in her books, but this one was just a little disappointing, which I've heard many other readers who are fans of the Shadowhunter universe say as well, which is disappointing. All right, our next stack. We have 2 more stacks that are the exact same size as this to go through. So we're gonna be here a while, and also I'm moving books over so I can have some more room. Okay, first book on the top. I can't believe I found this book on Pango for like $15. I was shocked. This is the second book in the Vita Nostra series, which was just recently translated. This book just came out this year and is already on Pango. I snapped that up. I saw it. I bought it immediately. So I'm so excited to read this. I am obsessed with Vita Nostra. It's so weird. Such a good time. Dark academia. Weird time. So good. Please read this. Well, actually, I don't know if this one's good, but read Vita Nostra. And then I'll let you know how this one is. But super excited to read it. Next up is the gift that I got from graduation, which is really exciting. Like, I don't normally get books from people who don't buy it off my wish list, but this was the gift from my mom's old boss who knew me, obviously, and she read this book and really, really enjoyed it, so she bought me a copy, and that is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. Maybe I'm saying his name wrong. He did write, All the Light We Cannot See, which I have read, and I kind of was looking at this. I don't really know much about it. Oh, there's a note in here I forgot. She did a handwritten note, which is so sweet. So I can't remember much about this. I believe it's literary fiction-y, but it looks like a good time. Hopefully. Next up is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I am just dying to get to. Everyone's been reading this saying it's so good and a really good analysis of the publishing world and kind of its darker side almost. I am just dying to read this. I want to read it so bad. So hopefully I can make it happen soon. Next up is Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini, which is so ridiculously small compared to Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Like, look at how tiny this book is. Like, this is not even 300 pages, and To Sleep in a Sea of Stars was almost 1,000. I don't know what happened, but I'm really curious to read this one and see how it is. Another Lumicrate edition, we have Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. I love the sprayed edges on this book. It's so gorgeous. I have this new thing where I'm keeping all of my Lumicrate editions together in my room, and then as I read them, I'm slowly transitioning them into the living room and facing them sprayed page out as like a decoration. So that's kind of an incentive for me to read these because then I get to use them as like a decoration in the living room. So I can't wait to display this one. It's so gorgeous. Now we have some more books that I got at the used bookstore, which we love. I have to go there at least every 2 to 3 months because they get new books in and I gotta go. So the next one is The Keeper of Night by Kylie Lee Baker. I believe this is fantasy. Don't know too much about it. Sounds great. I can't believe I found this book. I've been wanting to read this book for so long, and that is The Helm of Midnight by Mariana Lostetter. This is like a thriller fantasy, which sounds amazing. And I believe Reagan from Prue's Project read this book and absolutely loved it. So I can't wait. I'm so shocked I found this book for $4. Like, are you kidding? Next we have Sign Here by Claudia Lux. This just sounds like a ridiculously fun time. I believe this person signs a deal with the devil. It sounds great. I'm here for it. Next up is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, again from the used bookstore. I have read this one and it was an okay time. Next we have The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox. This sounds great. Kind of dark academia-ish, kind of horror. Love it. It sounds great. I love the cover. Next up, we have The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, which is Cameron's all-time favorite book, so I had to buy it and read it. No clue what it's about. It's quite short, though, so I'll get to it one day. Next up, we have Luster by Raven Lalani, which in one of my college classes we did discuss possibly reading this book, but then we never did. But I went ahead and bought it at the used bookstore when I saw it. It sounds really interesting, and I do want to read it. Next up is a book that is so cute. Like, I kind of regret buying a hardcover of this book because I feel like it would be so much more fun in paperback, but that is Hiss and Tell, a Miss Murphy mystery by Rita Mae Brown and Sneaky Pie Brown, which is the author's cat. Like, this is the best author photo I've ever seen. Like, you know when authors put their picture on the whole back? That's what I want to see. I want to see a cat. Thank you. And in the back, there's even like little scribbles of like the cat signing his name and stuff. Like, do you see that? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. This is set around Christmas, so I'm gonna try really hard to read this book around Christmas time because that would just be perfect. Did you see what I did there? I didn't even catch that until after I said it. That's hilarious. Okay, next is Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. Again, shocked I found this at the used bookstore, but this is the latest series from her. I really enjoyed her series that I can't remember the name of, but I would like to get to this one. Next up is The Plot by Jean Hanff Korelitz. I butchered that. But I've been really wanting to read this book because it is dark academia-ish. I believe it's about an author who has to fight his protagonist, which sounds real weird. There's a blurb at the top that says Insanely Readable by Stephen King. And this book is not like the greatest. Like, it has writing on the top, which I don't love, but if the story inside is great, that's all that really matters. Next up is a book that my mom wanted me to pick out. She said to pick out any book from the used bookstore and she would buy it for me, which was nice. So I picked The Seep by Chana Porter, which I believe is a short kind of horror book that Lala read. Maybe I don't know. I feel like I've seen this somewhere and it sounds weird and I love weird. Next up, we have Daughter from the Dark by the same authors of Vita Nostra. So I'm really excited. I believe this is like a standalone book from them, and anything they write, I'm so here for. They just have such beautiful writing and is so weird, and I just was obsessed, and I didn't know they had any other books, so really excited I found this. Next up is Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo, which is the graphic novel version of the short story that she wrote. I really wanted the graphic novel version just because I don't have like a ton of graphic novels and it's kind of fun to read those instead of big books sometimes. The art style on this book is beautiful and it was a good story. It was fun to kind of learn more about the Darkling before he was, the Darkling. Next up, we have Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed, which I've heard really good things about. I've heard this book is pretty dark, so to kind of expect that, and is a little bit more adult than I think it's being like published as. No clue really what it's about, but I love this cover, and I really enjoyed The Wolf and the Woodsman by this author, so looking forward to this. These next two books are ones I just got like the other day, so definitely kind of went out of order, but you know what? It doesn't matter. So next up we have Plain Bad Heroines by Emily Danforth. I've been really wanting to read this book. I bought it off Pango and I'm really glad I got the paperback because it's like so floppy and I love this bright red cover. Oh, I can't wait to read this. Next is The Unbound by Victoria Schwab, which is the second book in her archive series. This book has been so difficult to find. I can't find it anywhere, and I did have to buy an ex-library copy. The spine's a little ripped, like it's not great condition, but then again, I paid $1 for this book on Pango, so what can I say, Next is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which I just finished the other day. And I definitely think this book's a little overhyped. Like, it was good. I just didn't totally love it, Okay, also, I bought the box set of the Heroes of Olympus series. I not recently, but I did get the Percy Jackson box set, which I loved and had as a kid. I don't know where they went. I think I got rid of them. I don't know why I would do that, but I cannot wait to reread the Percy Jackson books and then reread this series because I loved them as a kid. Like, this was my Harry Potter. I never read Harry Potter as a kid. Percy Jackson was my Harry Potter. It was so good. Next up is another box set, but I took it out of the box, which is the first Warrior Cat series. I am going to collect these. I'm going to buy them all. And I'm really excited. I read probably about half of the Warrior Cat series before I just got sucked into reading other things, but I would like to start from the beginning and read all 75 books and collect them all. So I'm going to start collecting these one box at a time, and it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait. Next up, we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is her first book outside of the David trilogy, which I am obsessed with. And I've heard nothing but incredible things about this book. Any fantasy that's like set on the ocean with like pirates, I'm so here for. It sounds great. I can't wait to read it. Yet another Illumicrate book is The Red Scholar's Wake by Letty de Bodard. I don't think I said that correctly, but this is an adult sci-fi, I believe, and I love the ombre pages. Like, oh, gorgeous. Can't wait to read it. Next up is a book I got from my library. They were doing a major unhaul of books, and they were all for free, and the only book I got, like, they didn't have, like, the most amazing selection of, like, books that I would want. The one they did have that I wanted was Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. I like Morgan Matson, like, her books are just fun, and I did see this, and it was free, so, like, why not? Next is the next series we're going to read for Ketchup Book Club, which is the Best Served Cold series. I know this probably has a name, but I'm not seeing it anywhere nearby. So the first book is Best Served Cold. Next is The Heroes, and then Red Country, all by Joe Abercrombie. So we're going to be reading that next, and hopefully it's better. Now we have some more Joe Abercrombie. So we have this short story collection called Sharp Ends. So I'll be reading that. I believe this is the correct order of the books. I could be wrong, but then I also have the Age of Madness series. So the first one is A Little Hatred. Second one is The Trouble with Peace. And the third one is The Wisdom of Crowds. I love how these books have the like three main colors on the spines. And they're numbered. Like, why are series not numbered on the spines? Everybody should do that because it's helpful. Next up is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. What a turnaround from Joe Abercrombie. Like a hardcore, like grim dark fantasy to like a fluffy YA romance. Truly, I read just about anything. So this is so adorable. I'm obsessed with Talia Hibbert, so I can't wait to read this. Next up is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. Didn't totally love this one, but it was still like a cozy fantasy, fun, good time. Next we have Song of Silver Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao, which is another Illumicrate edition. Love the sprayed edges. Oh, look at those. They're so pretty. I'm obsessed. This book is gorgeous. Last stack. Last stack. Actually, just like one little half stack in front of me, so let me like unbury that. Because those were like new releases and I didn't want to get them like totally buried and lost. But all right, books are poking me everywhere. We're almost there, people. Okay, next we have The Mary Shelley Club by Goldie Moldavsky. Don't know much about this, but anything to do with Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, I'm here for. That is such a good classic. I can't wait to get to this. Next up is some more buy one, get one 50% off Barnes & Noble books. I'm a sucker, like I said, for that sale. The next one is The First Sister by Lyndon Lewis. I think this is like a blend of fantasy and sci-fi. Sounds weird and interesting. I'm here for it. Next is The Light of the Midnight Stars by Rena Rossner. I was really interested in this book when it first came out, but I kind of just never bought it. And then I saw the paperback, which I bought. It has daggled edges. I hate that, but I'm here for the story. Next is Midnight at the Electric by Jodi Lynn Anderson, which I bought at my local used bookstore. I don't know much about this. Truly, I don't. I believe there's a couple different timelines, which, like I said, I love that. So it's super short. I thought it would be good for a readathon. Next up is the sequel to The Kingdom of the Wicked, which is Kingdom of the Cursed, which I have yet to get to, but certainly want to. I really like the audiobooks for this series. I think they're really well done, so I'll probably listen to this at some point. Next up is Happy Place by Emily Henry, which I tried to get the sticker off. I epically failed. I need to come back to this book and try to take that off. But this is her latest book. I wanted to wait and get the paperback to match my other editions of her books, but I saw it at the store. I've been wanting to read it, so I just got it. Next up is Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Curlin, which is a book I've just never been able to find and have been really wanting to read. I believe it's a psychological dark academia thriller, which those are all my buzzwords. Like, I'm here. If I'm going to read a thriller, it's gotta be psychological. I just love those. So really looking forward to reading this one. Next up is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. Like, you would think I had a Book of the Month subscription. I don't. I just buy them off Pango because they're really cheap. I truly just do not like Book of the Month books because I think they're really cheap and they just fall apart. When I did have a subscription, I had at least 2 or 3 books, pages just fell out. And I don't want that. Like, I want my books to have quality to them. But when they're cheap, I'll buy them, I guess. So I don't know much about this. I'm just obsessed with the cover. I know there's a competition about books. I'm here for it. Next we have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake, which is the sequel to Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Again, a book I cannot wait to get to. Next up is Witch King by Martha Wells, which I believe is her first full-length novel. I really want to read her Murderbot series. It sounds really fun. Has beautiful purple sprayed edges. I just love Illumicrates editions. This book is just so tiny too. It's like a short little hardcover. It's so cute. Next up was a very impulsive purchase, and that is Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. I don't know much about this. I believe it's like 2 twin sisters. It has something to do with books. I saw something to do with books and I'm just like, I'll buy it. Sure. Next up we have Wolf Song, and I'm just gonna haul it with Raven Song. These are the new Barnes & Noble exclusive editions that are being released. I don't love these covers. Like, I really, really love the original indie published ones, but those are impossible to find unless you want to pay a fortune. So I'm just gonna start buying these. I already pre-ordered the next 2 books and I really enjoyed Wolf Song. This is definitely an adult series, and it does say that, like, right on the front cover. It says this series is for adult readers, and it very much is. Like, this book was so smutty. I was not expecting that. It was real good, but this is definitely for adults. It has very adult themes, but it was very good. I can't wait to read Raven Song. Next up is probably my favorite Illumicrate edition I've received all year, and that is The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero Lucruz. I don't know anything about this book. I just know it's stunning. Look at the stenciled edges. So we have the beautiful moons and the stars. I just love the split dye kind of a look on this. It's so pretty. And the naked book is just stunning. I'm obsessed. I kind of wish they'd kept the black and white theme for the end pages because they just do not match at all. But this book is just so pretty. I want to read it. Next we have The Will of the Many by James Eilington. I don't know too much about this. I believe it has something to do with a character infiltrating a university and doing something there. No clue. I really enjoyed this author's other series, so I thought I'd buy it. Next up we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which I really want to read. Like, it's so cute, and I think this would be a perfect readathon book. The font is huge in this book. I love that. So I want to read this one so I can buy the next books in the series. There's quite a few that have come out, and I just want to buy and read them all. They look so cute. Going from that vibe, we have Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca, which I believe is really grotesque horror. At least that's kind of what I've heard. So it says on the back that it's bleak, clever, edgy, and vicious, which sounds great for horror. Oh my gosh, last stack, you guys. We've almost made it. So the next one is 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Augustina Bastarrica, which is the author of Tender as the Flesh, which is one of my all-time favorite horror books. That book is so unsettling. It's so good though. So I just stumbled across this when I went to Barnes & Noble's, and I was really excited to see this. I was like, I didn't know she was coming out with more books. So I immediately bought this. Also, love this cover. Next up is House of Roots and Ruin by Aaron A. Craig, which is the sequel to House of Salt and Sorrows, which I love. I got this pre-ordered from Barnes & Noble, and look at the sprayed edges. I did not know Barnes & Noble did sprayed edges. They should do this more. I would totally pre-order more books if they would spray them. So can't wait to read this. I'm going to reread House of Salt and Sorrows and then dive into this, but I can't wait. Next up, we have the latest book from Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is Silver Nitrate. I can't wait to get to this. I just love how varied her books are. Like, she never writes in the same genre. Like, there's always something different about her books, and she is just such a great writer, so can't wait to get to this one. Next up, we have Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb, which I purely bought because dragons, but also, not only that, but it's dragons that are coming back to the land with revenge on the humans who got rid of them. I love a dragon revenge story where the dragons come back. Like, I don't like reading fantasy books where dragons are the things being killed. Like, absolutely not. So, I can't wait to read this. All right, we got 2 books. My battery's flashing, so we're gonna make it quick. So, the next one is Girls and Their Horses by Eliza Jane Brazier. I bought this purely for a video idea that I have, so I will let you all find out about that later, but, it's gonna be good. And the final book is the most recent book I got from Lumicrate. This is the July book, which is The Jasad Heir by Sarah Hashem, which I'm excited to read. I've seen a lot of the fantasy girlies that I follow picking this book up, and I'm excited to read it. It has beautiful stenciled edges, and it's just a stunning book. Oh my gosh, we made it. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of books. Let's not wait so long to do book hauls, shall we? That was ridiculous. I try to do quarterly book hauls so I don't have to sit here and haul 100 books, but I also hope to not haul so many books so I don't have to talk about so many. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you made it this far into the video, comment some bookish emojis and let me know your thoughts on any of these books if you've read any of them, as I would love to know. And I will see you all in another video soon. Bye!